just landed in Leadership and Enlightenment, a podcast where the guests are exceptional humans that have faced their fears to crest into their best selves, growing into a way they can help their communities, creating opportunities, and sharing their secrets and their tips that they learned along the way. Without further ado, here we are, my friends. Have a great time today and enjoy Leadership and Enlightenment. Andy, my new friend, this is going to be a fun conversation today, brother.
What's going on, Dean? Hey, I'm excited for it. Let's do it.
I know. I love how, new relationships build through LinkedIn. And you and I connected in a social media platform, had a phone call a couple of weeks ago, and I knew, man, the audience was going to enjoy this conversation today.
Hey, it's always great when you take that social media aspect and you now bring that to an actual relationship where you can actually connect. Because there's actually a thing that people say that social media has made us less social. But the smart people, they leverage the social media and they have, first of all, some virtual chats and hopefully some in real life conversations as well.
Yeah, and it lets everybody get to know you a little more. I mean, your profession is one of those professions where you need to your audience needs to know you before you get out there. And what a great time we live in that we're actually able to share who we are and without having to go through a lot of effort. I mean, it really is an easy time. But brother, before we get into all that, because I know you got a lot to share, I want to start you off in your adventure, kind of coming out of that high school era. Like, where were you in this world? Where were you trying to get to? What was your story like?
Man. So high school, I was the typical kid who my goal was to make it into the NBA.
Okay.
And so actually, let me kind of go back a little bit. So
Yeah.
I played basketball majority of my life. And then in 7th grade, I moved to Cameroon. So I'm originally from Cameroon. As you can tell by my name, my full name is Nde Aganwi Kimbeng. That is not an American name. So my family's originally from Cameroon. And they were like, hey, I was born in Boston, in Lowell specifically. And they were like, my parents were like, hey, we want you to go back home to know more about your culture, upbringing, etc. So 7th grade, I was in Cameroon from 7th grade to 10th grade. And so I came back in 11th grade. And, those were like 4 vital years.
Yeah,
And
man.
by
I
the
mean,
time
I'm
I came
already
back,
like,
by the time I came back, let's just say my hoop dreams never resurfaced. And I hold that against my parents to this day because one of my friends, who we were on the same team before I left in 6th grade, he's in the NBA now.
get out.
And back then, we were at the same level.
So what happened next, brother? You finished high school. You ended up here in
So-
11th grade. How did it go?
I came back to the U.S. I was in high school. At that point, school was pretty easy because here in the U.S., there's just so many more resources. Whereas compared to when I was going to school in Cameroon, it's not like I was actually in a boarding school. So it wasn't like I could just go to the house and check on the computer to do all my assignments. Like I had to actually know the stuff. Like we would go into study prep and I'd have to actually understand. Cameroon's bilingual, so they speak French and English. So I also had to learn French. So by the time I came back to the US, from an academic standpoint, I was ahead. And then I had to take an elective. So I took French, starting in French 1, and I already knew French because I was in Cameroon. So that put me super high as well. So after that, I did play basketball in high school. And then by the time I had graduated high school, I went on to study mechanical engineering at Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Awesome, man. Well, I got to imagine, just having that ability to have seen outside of the U.S. at a young age and coming back, that you had to have a wider vision on the way you saw your life, even if the basketball dream didn't work. Did it give you any kind of step up around, other people that you knew that hadn't been out of the States before?
Yeah, for me, it really increased my perspective. I feel like when you're not even just about being in America, but if you're anywhere where this is the only place you've been, you only have one perspective. You only have one understanding of how the world revolves. And when I went and lived in Cameroon for 4 years, it made me to understand that how privileged I am. And then helped me to understand how people look at different situations within life. So now when I came back, I'm looking at problems from multiple viewpoints.
Right.
That allowed me to have a much larger thought process around how I can solve problems. And when I'm working with teams, it's like, for example, from a problem solving perspective, it's like, so I studied engineering. And it's more, when you think of engineering, it's more than just like the technical aspect. You're also dealing with people. And when you're dealing with people, you have to think from different perspectives. There's different users who may be using the product or service. And if I don't think about how someone else would be able to understand that problem, then you're not truly creating a great solution, which is why there's that interface between like the engineering, which is just the technical side, there's an interface with marketing. Marketing is
Yeah.
more talking to the actual individuals. That's why like you cannot sit down here where I am currently right now in Dallas, Texas, and decide to create solutions for Yugoslavia based off of something that works here in Dallas. I
Yeah.
don't know that. I have to actually get there and understand things from their perspective, like how things come into play. So I think for me, that really being able to go to Cameroon and then come back, it helped me to see things from two different worlds and to be open to different perspectives. Because like even when I went to university, there were literally kids from all around the world at the school that I went to. And it also gave me a sense of humility because as Americans, we tend to be very egotistic.
Yeah.
America's the best. We know it
Yep.
all. You know,
Yep.
we are the best. And I was like, is it really? It's
Or
like,
is it a hype? Yeah. Or are we being hyped into that thought process, bro? I'll tell you what, I met this individual one time in Cancun. I was down there for some work, helping a client out. And he was a guy that knew what he was doing. Like you could tell in his head, like there was an initiative that he was going forth and he was running the DMC down there.
mm,
And I knew that Spanish wasn't his first language. I mean, it wasn't. And he looked at me and said, "Yeah, the first time I tried to move here, I didn't understand Spanish and I couldn't get a job. But I went back home and I studied for a year and a half and I could speak Spanish and I came back to start working." In our nature in some ways to learn and grow. And when you get to experience life that way, it catapults you in a certain way. Where did you end up next? Where did your career take you from there?
so I said, I studied mechanical engineering at Worcester Polytechnic Institute, studied there for 4 years, graduated with a bachelor's, and then I think I had a minor in industrial engineering. But while I was in university, I was the president of our Black Student Union. And I think I was the president my junior year and senior year. So
Congratulations.
we would have events, whether that's fashion shows, fundraisers, etc. And we did not have the funds to be able to hire an external host or MC to be able to lead the event, get people engaged, etc. So as president, that naturally landed on my shoulders. I didn't know what that was. Like it was cool. I said, okay, hey, I'll do that. I didn't really know what that job description even meant, but I did it and it was fun. Like I didn't even know this is something that people actually do as an occupation. And then when I graduated university 2018. My friend was getting married in 2019 and he was going to hire an MC. And to clarify, when some people get confused, when I say MC, I don't mean DJ. Like he had a DJ, he was
Hmm.
hiring a separate MC host to run the event. And I pretty much told him, bro, let me MC your wedding.
I love
Please
this part.
save your money. Please let me MC. Just get my flight. Because I was living in Florida. I said, please just get my flight and I'll MC your wedding. Like, I will take it serious. And mind you, what did I do? I started looking up MCs and like how to MC a wedding. I looked up MCs in Australia, MCs in Nigeria, in Ghana, India, a couple in the US, and I got a new suit. Like I took that thing serious.
Yes,
And
you
that
did.
day I walked in and the first thing that made me to understand that like I'm doing something right, when I walked in, the wedding planner saw me. She said, are you the MC? I love when
Yes.
professionals come. I love when professionals come serious. I said, me? Professional?
You are a master manifester, my friend. Those are the steps that you do if you want to manifest something in life. You live and breathe it. That's amazing.
Yeah, so hey, then, to long story short, that thing went very well. and I started getting other gigs from there. And crazy thing, that was 7 years ago. There was a guest that was at that wedding that is getting married September 2026,
Incredible.
hired me from that wedding 7 years
That's so
ago,
awesome.
which is
That's
crazy.
so awesome. Well, it's the entrepreneur's lifestyle you're talking about. The idea of investing yourself in your community, into a love and a passion, and then allowing that to grow into your focus of life where it starts to be funded because you're making such a big difference, man.
Yeah, that's what it is. And like to me, sometimes it's crazy to think about how it just started as me having to host these events as the president, to then somehow emceeing weddings, to now emceeing conferences of with thousands of people and fundraisers raising millions of dollars. Like what?
How do you take your hands and put that around your life? What do you see it as? What's your driving force behind allowing your life to develop like that? Because that's a talent, man, for people to get out and really see something around them as their passion versus I need to go make money. I need to do this. I need to use my degree because I went to college. Geez, you didn't even use your degree. How many people suffer in their lives from not using their degree, but you found your joy through going to college, getting that degree?
Yeah, so I'd say there's two main things. Having parents who are extremely supportive and push you to become my best self. And then for me, also something that's very important is my faith in God, just praying and just kind of having that steadfast spirit.
Yeah.
And just to correct, so I did work directly as an engineer. Now I'm more in like marketing, so I'm not working as an engineer anymore, but that's why I still go as the engineer MC, because for the past, up until last year, I was working as an MC. I mean, as an engineer as well. Uh,
Got it.
my background's engineering, and then I've done, I later got an MBA as well. You know, as Africans, education
But
is
your
super important.
But your drive is around public speaking, and honestly,
Exactly.
that's why I keep trying to draw this out because I've run into other people in the world and they like were running a hotel chain, for example, and they got to get out there and speak for who they were working for, or they were a fashion designer speaking for their fashion company. And they found this draw into allowing their voice to be used and this energy to be put out in a certain way. And from the outside looking in, to track back the breadcrumbs from where you started to where you get to. Yeah, man. I mean, it's in your idea of faith. And do you have a daily practice around that? Do you put in like time that you really work into showing gratefulness and how you've embraced this part of your life?
I mean, for me, you mentioned something really great about the whole aspect of daily practice. So I believe that every single thing is small steps. Like it took me, when was the first event that I emceed was 2019. Well, even way before that, when I was 10 years old, I I was supposed to perform at our Lowell, and so in Lowell, Massachusetts, they have an African festival. I was going to do a rap on behalf of a company, and they were going to pay me $50. And this was in front of 300 people live, and it was also on local TV live. And I got there, walked on stage, started shaking, and then I started crying. And then I walked. And the worst part, I did not get the $50.
Man,
And I think at that point is where like there was a change where I was like, man, being shy does not serve me. Like I literally lost $50. To me, right, that $50 at 10 years old to me right now is like $5,000.
yeah.
Was like, you know what? I need to just like, yes, I will feel nervous. Even times now I still do, but like you just do it anyways to do. So like when you talk about a daily practice, like for me, I like to wake up early. I do it that like the first thing that I'll be able to do is, so most of the time in the mornings I'll read, be able to pray, and then from there,
Beautiful.
like I'll start on kind of whatever type of work that I'm doing on that day
Hmm.
in order to be able
Yeah.
to improve myself. So whether that's
Yeah.
reaching out to clients in the morning, whether that's whether that's reaching out to clients, whether that's kind of focusing on, like, let's say I have an event coming. How am I going to do this intro? Because a lot of times people have this misconception that like as an MC, you kind of just wing it. And that's not true. I have to understand the client. How can I speak like them? Because it's not about me.
Hmm.
Like my goal
Hmm.
is that the audience literally are asking, what department does he work in?
Yeah.
I need to understand all of the intricacies. If, let's say, the employers are called, I don't know, friends. That's the thing that they use, friends. I'm not going to say ladies and gentlemen, right? Like,
Right.
I will say friends.
Yeah.
Things like that. Those are only things that you can understand by actually working with the client. So I like to even consider it more of it's not just, some people just feel like, yeah, you just come, give me a whole script and I'll MC. But I like to kind of be involved from the beginning and kind of see it more of an event experience architect.
I love that. Yeah, man. Invest that energy in that way. And when you have that structure and you're already in who you are, it exudes through your efforts and what you bring to that audience. And so that's really what I was drawing out, is that I found in the entrepreneurial's path that the strongest standpoint is bringing in a stronger belief in your life in the morning and finding a place that you fit in, and then go attack your day and do your homework. Like you're saying, man. I mean, a CEO mindset is the person that really is invested in themselves enough to understand how to give back. And all you talk about, man, is giving back. That's why you're an amazing MC.
I mean, so it's like it's been, that's why, speaking of that, that's why I like working with like nonprofit organizations or events where, let's say, they're raising money for a certain cause. Those I really enjoy working with organizations because, and the reality is, the only way that I can help them to be able to raise these funds is if I genuinely understand the purpose and I
Hmm.
believe in the cause. Because it's just like someone trying to sell a car if you think the car is trash. You can't
Right.
do that.
Yeah. You have to have a passion.
Exactly. And which that's something I really love, being able to represent the organization and then give the audience an opportunity to be able to give, because a lot of people want to, but they might not be as inspired, they might not
They need
necessarily
a they need a
understand.
little push, a little heart push in there. Yeah, man. Hey, tell me something though. The way your life's been unfolding, there's people out there right now that are listening to this interview and they're saying to themselves, man, I got this special thing too, and I'm working and I really want to take it forward, whether it's singing or art or whatever, community service that they're putting out there. Well, how did you deal with imposter syndrome? There had to be a time in your life where you were like, oh shit, like I'm not getting out there and doing this. And you had to work through that. How did you make your way through that?
All right, so I say this is twofold. Number one, you need to get yourself within a community. So I said, like, I had been, my first MC, technically official MC gig, was 2019. I started taking MCing serious in 2024. And the reason why I began to take it serious, so I was getting, even before that time, I was getting gigs. I literally I had gone to Mexico twice. I had gone to Jamaica twice, like any things, but I wasn't necessarily taking it serious. Like, people were reaching out to me and I'd be like, yeah, sure, let's do it. But I was in this mentorship I was inside this community. It was actually with other other real estate investors. And we also talk about things that we are doing within our lives. And we chat every week. And then they were like, hey, you're doing this. I'm seeing you're going to all of these places. Do you even market it? Do you even promote it? What if you did? Don't you think you could like make good money with this, etc.? And I sat on that phone call because technically we normally, it was like five of us. We spent an hour and we'd all talk about little things we're going. This call was pretty much half of the time was on me. I sat there
Wow.
telling them like, that's not possible. This is just something for fun. I'm just, emphasis on just, an engineer. I just do this on the side just for fun. Like, it's not something I'm doing for money. Like, yes, I get paid a little bit, but this is just cool. Like, what kind of person can say that what kind of person do I look like and say, hey, what do you do? I'm an MC. Like,
Right.
what?
Yep. I can see
So
that. Yeah.
I, they kept on pushing me. I said, you know what? Fine. So they gave me homework to look up MCs and like understand the possibilities, because at that point, I didn't even know that there was a corporate side. Then when I began looking things up, I found corporate MC and I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I've been going to some of these conferences and some of them are pretty bad, especially what if I started, actually, even before that, I reached out to some of these MCs. I got on a phone call And I was very glad they were very open and honest with me about the opportunities. And then not only that, about the pay point, and I was like, wait, what? I thought I was doing okay within weddings and like doing okay as an engineer, but you're telling me that I'm gonna MC this conference for 3 days and I'm getting paid what per day? That's more than my annual salary? No, whoa. Monthly salary? Whoa. And that's when the light bulb hit that,
Yeah.
okay, I guess this is a thing. And then at that point, the reality is the concept of imposter syndrome, etc. You will always have that. And the reality is you do not build confidence by sitting in front of your mirror and saying affirmations. I am the best. I am this. You build confidence by doing. And once
Yes.
you do, you see, and then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, but you just have to
Yeah.
keep going and going. And the reality is, like, it's gonna, as I said, I started taking this serious in 2024. And fortunately, I had been doing a lot of weddings before that. So that side of the funnel, that's built up strong to reach out to that. But the seriousness was building the corporate side. And the corporate side has taken 2 years to be able to build. Like now, I'm blessed that organizations are reaching out to me,
Yeah.
right? And like I'm still reaching out to those people reaching out to me, but it took time.
It's it is.
It
Let
took
me
a
slow
lot
you
of
down for
time.
a minute there. We're kind of talking about this 5-year entrepreneurial template, the idea of what it means to mature your way through those 5 years. And I always love to use that word mature because every entrepreneur starts out most likely in their mind thinking it's about making money. Once I make the money, then I have a lifestyle. But when you're really in the life that you're talking about, and man, you're giving a master class right now on how to manifest, just so everybody realizes that we just hit step number 3. The first step is how you materialize in your mind, what you actually see a passion for, which you did back in college. And then it was actually investing yourself in the education of understanding that role you're going to move forward in life. And then, like you just so eloquently said, taking the steps. Like everybody thinks manifestation really is about, like you said, thinking in your mind and really like imagining, envisioning, and feeling this idea. But they have to realize you actually have to get out there and start taking steps now. And if you're in a situation in life where your ceiling does not allow you to take steps past the ceiling, you may be faced with having to make a decision from leaving one career and starting another one. And that's kind of where we're at with you right now. Is like you took the action steps. Now in manifestation, you're starting to now visualize and see the idea of what your life could be. And way back here, that was way too magnificent. That light was too shiny. But as you work through it and you expand, now you're in a place where you can hold that energy.
Yeah.
You can get on stage and you could be the person you saw in college. And that's what I want everybody to hear in the audience is like I said, you're given a master class and this is the truth steps in how you manifest the life around you.
Yeah. And it's crazy when you talk about the whole aspect. It's like, so last November, because I mentioned like now I still host weddings and I do corporate. Last November, I hosted a wedding in Dubai.
Cool.
And the craziest thing about this is the beginning of the year, as I'm writing off over my plans and goals, I was like, in the next 3 years, one thing that I put in the next 3 years, I want to host an event in Dubai. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I wrote it
Right.
now that I want to host an event in Dubai in the next 3 years. And now, crazy, let me tell you how I got this event. It was a last second event. So my friend was hired for this event the beginning of the year. He's a Nigerian citizen, so he has a Nigerian passport. Dubai was not allowing those with Nigerian passports to enter the country. I mean, the UAE. So he referred the event to me. And the crazy thing now, the question is, how did I even meet this guy? I met him, first of all, I met him through Instagram. He now lives in the US, but he initially was living in Nigeria. But I was seeing him traveling everywhere. Like he was living in Nigeria, traveling all around the world to MC weddings. I was like, dude, I love what you're doing. That's great.
Yeah.
So my thing is, I want to just get in your network. Let's chat. And he was extremely viral, tons of followers. So I'm like, just DMing him. He probably has so many people just trying to get things from him. So I was very strategic. When I messaged him, I said, I'm an MC here in the States. I love what you're doing. How much is it for us to get on a call? I just want to chat with you. Right. And I think he asked me to pay him like $200. It was like, and it's funny, right? I told some people about this. They're like, oh, what if he scammed you? What if he this? I was like,
It's $200. Yeah.
bucks.
Yeah, you got to take those risks. Got to jump into the bells on those things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's $200. So I chatted with him. We chatted twice, and then actually he ended up having an event here in the US, and then he had this like book that he sent to me as well. And then he ended up moving here, and he would have events he had an event in Dallas. I said, hey, I'd love to come to your event. Let me see what you're doing. I can help
There you
you
go.
take some
Yep.
content for you behind the scenes, stuff like that. And he was like, oh yeah, sure, for sure. Thank you. Come. And that's how we just built that relationship. So it's like, it started off as like a mentorship type of thing, or someone could say paying to get in this network. And then what did that lead to? Getting an event in Dubai.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'll tag this for you, man, because this is what I learned in my second to third year in my entrepreneurship. It's what's called referral marketing. In the beginning, I was looking for point-to-point sales. I'm the best at what I do. You should use my services. But in the end, it really comes from, like you said, investing into this ideal. And I heard this great saying, I still hold it with me, from a very wealthy man once. Something given for nothing is treated like nothing. And so for you to spend $200 on that information, it became the most valuable information you possibly could get. So anybody out there that thinks spending money on a relationship or information is ridiculous, no, you've actually now invested yourself into this energy because you made a decision to do it and it cost you. You had to invest into this. And this is what you're bringing forward, man, is when you invest yourself as an entrepreneur into referral marketing. That means in my world, I answer almost every email and every DM that anybody ever sends me because I want people to answer mine. And so I answer them by saying, hey, I'd love to discuss your services with you because I have a downline of people that may need it. And if you're open to a mutual referral call, let's get on the phone.
Yeah.
You don't decide what's important in your life. You let the universe work for you. And you're a master of that, brother. You really show how that comes through you.
Hey, appreciate it, man.
If you were going to leave somebody with that spirit of a dream inside of them that you've shared, what would be the one thing you'd leave them with today that they should continue to do every day to get closer to that dream?
I think it's very important to take steps every single day and also understand that it's going to be harder than you think it is. The reality is, especially, for example, a lot of times you may go to these conferences and a lot of them are extremely motivational and they don't necessarily give actual tactical steps or tell you the things they went through. And sometimes the reason why they don't actually give you the steps is because people will not believe, or people will not actually take it serious of how difficult it was, or people will be like, yeah, you're crazy. So to understand that things don't come easy. People have this thing of, oh yeah, you just became an overnight success. You will probably have to work harder than you think you do. You'll have to send more emails than you thought. You'd have to make a little bit more calls than you actually, but you have to just I like to focus on the leading indicators rather than the lagging indicators. Lagging indicators being, for example, for something easy, let's talk about working out. You consider your success that you lost 50 pounds. No, consider success, your goal is to work out 4 days a week. And that's the input, right? If you continue doing that and just continue going that, keep your head down and keep going, hey, let me continue to work 4 days a week, 4 days a week. You're seeing those small wins. That will really help you to get where you need to go. And another thing is relationships. Those are the most important. Relationships can get you further than your skills. You can be extremely skilled with no relationships. I am sorry, no one knows you. But you build these relationships, well, of course, skills are very important. But you build the relationships, that helps you to skip steps. You can get referrals. You can build that network. And even if you don't, there's always a way for you to be able to provide value. Even if you're not directly related to it, you might know someone else who is. Hey, I'm talking to Dean. Dean is looking for, I don't know, someone who's the greatest DJ that does whatever type of music. I don't know that, but hey, oh, you're looking for that? Cool. Hey, you two should connect. Now I've gained capital, the relational capital from them, and then the law of reciprocity. People genuinely, if you do something for someone, they're like, dang, I feel like I need to do something. This guy.
They'll hold on to that, won't they? They'll have for months trying to get themselves back to square on that. You're so right, man.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I'll only add, I heard this term once that I love. You're looking for promoters in your life. You're looking for people that want to work and help you as much as you want to help them when you're out networking like that. And they come from all different statuses of different organizations. So they can't always be in your funnel. You're going to have to be open-minded to it.
Yeah.
And I see it from this idea of, when I was in my ego mindset, used to work in corporate, I used to always plan 80% and allow 20% to come to fruition. Now I plan for 20% and allow 80% to come to fruition. I keep my mental momentum. I realize there's a lot of work, energy out there working for me that has nothing really to do with my daily input in, input out. And as long as I'm committed to leave those lanes open and allow that life to come into my life, you'll start to expand and you'll start to accept these steps that you were talking about. Yeah, there's a ton of work, but if you're impassioned by what you're working towards, man, that midnight phone call or email you're sending, that's pleasure in your world to know that you have business in your life that's actually working at all hours now. So guys, I got to say, this has been a really strong masterclass in the idea of how to envision, how to move forward in life, and how to leave yourself in a place that you're actually working within your flow, which I believe you absolutely are, my friend. Now tell everybody how they can get a hold of you. I know everybody's going to want you as their MC now after listening to this. You're going to draw all those strings together and create this amazing event for someone.
Right, for sure. So if you're looking to connect with me, you can find me at my website. That's youreventmc.com. Same thing through Instagram, Your Event MC. And then you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. And my name is Kim Bang. Doubt you can spell that, but I'm sure he'll put it in the show notes.
I got you, brother. What a great discussion. Thanks, man. I appreciate your time today.
All right.
Well, there we go. Another amazing example of the universe working in its magnificent way today. Appreciate you showing up and look forward to seeing you again at Leadership and Enlightenment.